The Tragedy of Cinema podcast is intended as a family-friendly program that by extension strives to be inclusive to all people regardless of their ethnicity, gender, creed, or any other identifying factors in this incredibly diverse world of ours. With that said, some of the films we discuss may contain serious subject matters or have content considered morally objectionable by today's standards. We do not intend to condone or dismiss these aspects of these films, but our primary focus will be on what we believe the film succeeds at, some fun facts, and our personal enjoyment factors of each film. With that said, we hope you enjoy the show.
Jimbo and Bond take flight. 80s dreams on its delight. In the realm of black and white. Movies and TV flow through the stories we all know. Silver screen tales unfold in the magic they bestow. The tragedy of cinema, when memories shimmer. Join us as we toast to the tales we love the most.
Ghost Breakers Incorporated. You make 'em, we shake 'em. Bob Hope speaking. Yes, Paulette Goddard's a partner in this firm. What? You want me to send her around? Listen, if I could tell Paulette what to do, I wouldn't send her to your house. Sucker. You know, I never knew there were so many ghosts roaming around loose until Paulette and I got into the Ghost Breakers. Believe me, the Cat and the Canary was a pink tea compared to this picture. It all starts on one terrible night. Basil Rathbone must be giving a party. That's the night that Paulette inherits a ghostly ancient castle off the coast of Cuba. The place is filled with mummies and spooks that walk at midnight. There are murders and death warnings planned to frighten Paulette and me, but we ain't frightened. I'll match you to see who faints first.
That sounds like Miss Carter's voice.
That's what they're trying to make us believe. One reason Paulette and I are such good ghost breakers is that we don't believe in ghosts. Or do I?
All right, guys, welcome back to the Tragedy of Cinema podcast. I'm your host, Jimbo, and once again, I'm joined by my co-host.
Hey, this is Bond.
Bond. Tonight, we are going into uncharted territory here on the Tragedy of Cinema podcast. We are actually covering our first ever, in the 6.5 years this has been going on now, Bob Hope film.
I can't believe that this is the first Bob Hope film in over 250 episodes.
Oh, it's a lot more than that. But now, Bond, I have a question. You're a little bit older than me, but I remember growing up. Do you remember the Bob Hope USO tours that they would show on TV where he would go over there and do comedy acts for all the soldiers across the seas?
Yeah, I think if there's one thing he'll be remembered for, it'll be his service to the service. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I think that was a great thing that he would do, is like provide a little comedy and a little relief for all those guys that were serving overseas.
But as we will soon find out, during this movie, there is some comedy, if you will, that is not very laughable in today's standards. This is one of the reasons we have that disclaimer at the beginning of the episodes, because this is one of those movies that uses, a black actor in a comedic role, kind of like a servant to Bob Hope in this movie. The guy does a phenomenal job in this movie. Willie Best, I think is his name. He does a great job in this movie, but sometimes it feels like he's the brunt of a lot of Bob Hope's jokes in this. And there's also some, what would you say, common tropes from that time period that appear in this film.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, it's true.
So, Bond, would you like to tell the people what movie we're talking about?
Yeah, of course, man. We are talking about the 1940 horror comedy, The Ghost Breakers, starring Bob Hope and Paulette Goddard.
Yeah, Bond. So had you ever seen this movie before we decided to cover it on this show?
No, man. I've seen a couple Bob Hope movies a long time ago, but I never saw this one, which is kind of strange because I like these kind of movies, these like ghost movies, these comedies, these horror movies. They're always fun.
Oh, yeah. And I do have some questions as we go through here because there is actually a ghost in this movie, I believe.
There's one ghost.
There is. And I think there's a zombie.
Which I don't understand in a ghost movie.
I don't either. But Bob, why don't you go ahead and take it away? And it was kind of hard trying to find, I tried to find Bob Hope's salary for this movie as well as his co-stars because I wanted to see if there was a difference in pay between Bob Hope and Willie Best and the lady Paulette Goddard or whatever her name was. Mm-hmm. I was wanting to see if there was a big pay difference for them all. And I just couldn't find it. Even, going through all the archives, I even asked ChatGPT to help me kind of find it. And they're like, look, back then in the 40s, they said, good luck. They said a lot of that stuff is kept under sealed stuff. And it checked everything that was online, all the files they could get to. They said, look, unless you know somebody or even in like Bob Hope's checkbook or something, that it's going to be hard to find. So
that's exactly what I discovered too, man. We're talking about the 1940 movie The Ghost Breakers. It is directed by George Marshall, screenplay by Walter De Leon. It's actually based on the Ghost Breaker 1909 play.
I know. That blew me away too.
This thing's been done so many times over. This is like the third time they've made this movie in 1940.
Well, not only that, but it was even remade for the last time with Dean Martin and I think Jerry Lewis in, what was the name of it? Do you remember?
Scared Stiff.
Scared Stiff. Yes.
And so I couldn't believe that. This movie did premiere. Here's something weird. This movie premiered on June 7th, 1940 in Detroit. June 21st, everywhere else.
Why did it say in Detroit? Did you find out?
I don't know, but for some reason it came out 2 weeks early in Detroit. That's like the strangest thing. It's got a running time of 83 minutes. And this movie is, like I said, it's based on the Ghost Breaker play. It is produced by Arthur Hornblow Jr. And it is starring, this Paramount Picture movie is starring Bob Hope. We mentioned a little bit before, man. Bob Hope plays Larry Lawrence in the title role, which I thought he did a great job. His like little quips and one-liners are just the best in this thing. And he always breaks that fourth wall. I think he's famous for doing that, breaking that fourth wall in his movies.
Well, not only that, but usually in most of the movies that you see him playing, he plays like a scaredy cat. And this one, he was actually kind of brave, which was kind of shocking too.
Yeah. Bob Hope is, of course, famous for not only the USO movements that he did, the comedy shows he did all those road movies with Bing Crosby. He was actually in over 70 movies. Mm. But he'll be known for, of course, his work with the soldiers. And he hosted the Academy Awards 19 times.
Wow.
I know. We think, in my generation, I think of Billy Crystal as the host, as the one with the most times hosting the Academy Awards. He hosted 19 times. And he actually had a joke about hosting the Academy Awards, or like he liked to call it in his family, Passover. This movie also stars Paulette Goddard as Mary Carter. I thought she was the main character, really.
She was.
Yeah, she was in a lot of movies. She's mostly famous for being in some movies with Charlie Chaplin. She did a lot of those silent movies back then. Richard Carlson plays Jeff Montgomery. He was in Creature from the Black Lagoon and It Came from Outer Space. And it also has Paul Lucas as Parada. Now, Paul Lucas is famous for winning the first ever Golden Globe Award for leading actor.
Really?
So he won the first one for a movie called Watch the Rhine. He was also nominated for an Academy Award for that movie. And he was in 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Willie Best, probably the character we're going to focus the most on, other than Bob Hope, other than Paulette Goddard. Willie Best plays Alex, which is Bob Hope's manservant, his assistant, I guess we would call him today. He was in 124 movies. Not only that, but most of the movies he gets no credit for.
Yeah, that's what I was reading.
Uncredited actor. Yeah.
Sad, man, because he was really good.
He was great in this movie. And I forgot, he actually went by another name in some of his movies, but I forgot what that was offhand. Do you know that one offhand?
Not offhand, I do not.
Okay. And when interviewed, Bob Hope actually called him the best actor I know was Willie Best.
Yeah, and they say, that's a play on his name, too. The best actor I know. So that's what I heard.
That's cool, man. There's a couple other littler actors. Pedro de Cordova plays Chavez, and he was in Saboteur. Virginia Brassic played the zombie grandmother.
Yep.
Right, or the mom of the zombie. And she was also famous for playing the grandmother in the movie Rebel Without a Cause. So that's where you might recognize her from. And let's finish it out with Noble Johnson, who plays the zombie. And he was in the movie The Mummy and King Kong.
Huh.
Yeah, which I thought was pretty good. And that's kind of the cast of this one.
It's I wouldn't say it's a major cast, but I mean, there's probably about 6 or 7 players in this movie that you need to pay attention to.
Yeah, there's a lot of little people that come out every once in a while that,
I mean, we're not talking about Munchkins, right? We're just talking
no. Even though Wizard of Oz did come out the year before.
Right.
This is 1940. So the first thing we have to think about when we think about this movie is the fact that this movie is 85 years old. So like you were saying at the beginning, the way the world saw different people or the way we read people was just different 85 years ago. And so you have to watch this movie kind of with a grain of salt when you go into it. This movie starts off with a thunderstorm.
What'd you think of those special effects there, Bond?
Man, those special effects are great. They were right out of the radio. You could tell they were shaking big pieces of foil off set, right, with the lighting and just the thunderstorm cracking.
It was bad.
It was great. Well, how far away was this movie from like radio programs, vaudeville, those kind of things?
It could have been too far. It might have been right around the same time, I would say. I know like the 20s had a lot of radio shows.
That's what I'm thinking. We're not too far removed from all that. So when it comes to special effects and just some of the way that they act in this movie, I think it's right out of vaudeville, right off of the radio plays. But Larry Lawrence is played by Bob Hope. He is a radio broadcaster. And it's kind of weird because his job is to bust the underworld, like mobster gossip, which seems like a really dangerous job. He lives in New York City, and his job is to kind of give you the latest mobster gossip, which he does on a guy named Frenchie Duval. And of course, right after he's done broadcasting, he gets a message that says, "Hey, Frenchie Duval wants to meet you. He wants to talk to you directly." And so right away, he thinks he's in trouble. He and his manservant, Alex, they prepare to go to the hotel of Frenchie Duval. And in that hotel, listening to the broadcast is Mary Carter, right? Paulette Goddard. She's listening to it. She's thinking about the storm. She's actually packing her bags, Jimbo, because she is heading to Cuba.
Why is she heading to Cuba, Bond?
She's heading to Cuba because apparently she has inherited this plantation this mansion in
Castle,
Cuba.
I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. And so she's going over there to kind of claim her inheritance. She wants to check it out. She's got this big mansion. I don't know what they were growing in Cuba because she's got a plantation. So I don't know. But she decides to go there. She's going to take a boat and she's packing her bags, her big trunk that she's going to be taking to Cuba to check it out. Now, one of my favorite scenes has to be this very beginning where Bob Hope's character is coming over to the hotel and Alex tells him, "You're going in there? You better take this." And he hands him a gun. And so Bob Hope has that gun that he's carrying. He's not very confident carrying that gun. And at the same time he's in the hallway, someone comes to shoot Frenchie.
Mm-hmm.
And in the panic, Bob Hope shoots his gun and ends up shooting a light out in the hallway. And he panics thinking,
He
"Oh my
killed the
gosh,
guy."
I just killed somebody." Yeah, I just killed somebody. And of course, the mob's looking, everybody's looking for the killer. And he panics and he like jumps into Mary's room because Mary like hears the noise and she opens her door. And so she lives on the same floor as Frenchie. So he, when he gives the chance, he hears the gunfire, takes off down the hall, finds Mary, and jumps in her room. Right? Of course, the cops are looking for the killer. The mob's looking for the killer. So he takes refuge in her trunk because the cop actually comes to the door. Yeah. The cop actually comes to the door and says, "Yeah, we need to search your place." And so the cops are looking around and he jumps into her luggage. He jumps into her open trunk and closes it up and hides in there, not knowing that she's leaving the country. So here's something. This movie's 83 minutes long. How long did it take to get to Cuba?
I would say 75 minutes or something like that. It took forever, dude. Yeah.
I thought the same thing. I was like, okay, this movie's only got like 20 minutes left.
Right. I'm like,
ghost.
How is this gonna end? It's gotta end real quick.
Exactly. I kept waiting for Ghost. I kept waiting for something haunted to come up.
Right.
It's not until the very last 20 minutes.
Yep.
So Bob Hope, Larry Lawrence, he's on the boat heading to Cuba.
Well, you forget. So he's like, "Well, how am I going to get on there?" And so he hides back in the trunk, right? Mm-hmm. And they take his trunk and wheel it out to go be taken to the boat. And it gets craned up to the boat. Well, when Paula Goddard goes up there to look for him, there is hundreds of trunks up there. You know what I mean? And she's down there and she's talking to him, Larry. And then you've got Alex comes by too, and he's talking down there, and he thinks he's a ventriloquist. Remember?
Yeah, that's great, man. Because then, of course, the people working at the port are loading up all the trunks and all the luggage and stuff, and they're all, Larry, you in there, Larry?
Yeah, because they finally see it because remember the crane picks it up in the net or whatever and takes it and puts it onto the ship and they're like, uh-oh.
But right before it gets loaded on, like part of it breaks, part of the rope breaks. And so like the truck's teetering on the edge. So you think it's going to fall. They're all, no, they're all panicking. So they think it's going to fall. Hilarious, man. So they get on the boat. They're heading to Cuba, right? Larry finally gets out of the luggage and kind of sparks up a flirtatious romance, I guess, with Mary Carter. Right? They kind of hit it off. They're kind of friends. He finds out that she's heading to Cuba in order to check out her plantation, check out her inheritance. And so he decides that he's going to go with her.
Well, she says, but they don't want me to go because they say it's haunted, that there's a ghost there or whatever. He's like, well, you're in luck. He's like, I'm a ghost breaker or whatever. And okay, so it's at this point where she has the guy that was trying to talk her out of going in the first place, but he ends up on the boat too. And he comes to her room and Bob Hope's already in there with her. Remember, which guy is that? That's not Prada, is it?
I think that's Jeff.
Yeah.
Is that Jeff Montgomery?
I think so.
Yeah, Jeff Montgomery, who kind of warns her before she even leaves, warns her in Manhattan not to go on this thing, but he ends up on the boat with her.
Did you think he kind of had a thing for her?
I think so.
I
think
did
he was
too.
hoping that she would like run into his arms and he would be the hero type thing,
Yeah.
but it didn't work out that way. So they finally get to Cuba, get to her plantation, and I was impressed by her little island estate.
Oh yeah.
It's a huge house, right? Before they get there, they find the shack with the old lady in it. And they hear tales of a zombie and voodoo.
Well,
right? They get warned about the voodoo.
but before they even go over to the island, they're at like she's at some sort of dinner meeting, a dinner date or something, and that's where she runs into that other guy, and he's trying to sit there, and he has to go over there, and the one guy's telling, "Look, you don't need to go," and she's like, "They're like, well, what about Larry?" He's like, "Well, no one, Larry. He's probably already went over there." And the guy was like, "Nobody, you can't get anybody to charter a boat out there at night. Nobody's going to go over there because it's haunted." And she's like, "Oh, you don't know Larry. Larry will find a way." So what do you see? You see Alex rowing the boat to go out there.
Oh yeah.
But in the meantime, back at the dinner, the one guy gets up from her table and goes over to talk to another guy. And she leaves a note on the table as sorry for leaving you or in such a short notice or something, like departing or something.
Yeah, Jeff Montgomery like leaves her a note and stuff. But is he the one that tells her about the voodoo?
Yeah, he was telling her all that
the
stuff.
And the zombies.
But she's the one that writes the note and leaves it for him because he's over talking at that other table, and she gets out of there.
Right.
So then Bob Hope and Alex, they get to the island, and they see the lady walking down the cliff or whatever, and they're like, "Oh, that must be the voodoo lady," because he's like, "Oh yeah," he's like, "Man," he's like, "We haven't seen no ghost yet." He's like, "Well, I think one's coming down the ramp right there," or whatever.
Exactly, man. And then, sure enough, she has a zombie. She has a zombie like in her little cabin.
So weird, dude.
Her little shack.
That is so weird. I wish they would have explained that stuff.
I don't understand the connection between being a ghost breaker and there's zombies. At least this is old school zombie. This is voodoo zombie. This is not Night of the Living Dead type zombie.
Right. It's more like the Mummy.
Yeah. And I think this is like the origin of the real zombies. Real zombies they came from like voodoo, where somebody would put a hex on you and you would be like their slave.
Right.
And so that's kind of what she had with this guy. But Alex traps the zombie in a closet. Right? Alex traps the zombie in a closet. Yeah.
He's so funny, man.
Crazy. So they get to her estate, and that's where we finally, 70 minutes into this movie, see a ghost.
Now, the ghost they seen coming out of that coffin or whatever, that's like the real ghost of what is her uncle or her dad or whatever.
Yeah, like one of her distant relatives.
Right.
Right.
Now she's decided that she's somehow got over here, and she's actually like scuba dived all the way over here or something, because and you know what, Bob, I have to point this out because she gets out of the water, right? And she's got one of those swimmer caps on, and she takes the cap off and she does her hair shake, and it's just perfect. It's like it's not wet. It's like perfectly combed. I was like, man, what is it with all these people in these movies that wear these shower caps? They get them off and they're just perfect.
Hey, they work, man. They work.
So she's in a swimsuit, and I think she like wraps a robe around her or something, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I love the scene where Alex sees the ghost.
Yep.
The real ghost. His eyes pop out and he's freaking out. And he sees the ghost. The ghost is like I guess he's dressed up like almost like a Spaniard. It's kind of weird. He's got like a weird Spaniard type costume on. And the ghost is, would you say good special effects for 1940?
That's pretty good.
I thought it was pretty good because he was translucent.
Yeah.
He had a weird glow about him, right?
Now, who was he supposedly in the suit of armor?
Yeah, I think so. Because there's a scene where they're standing by the suit of armor and you see that mace come down.
Right.
You were talking about scenes that were totally inappropriate for today's audience.
There's one right here.
This is it, man. Larry Lawrence, Bob Hope's character, finds Alex, his manservant, hiding in a grandfather clock.
Yep.
And pulls him out, and he's white.
Yep.
He's almost like wearing whiteface. He's wearing like this ash and dust. I guess it's supposed to be like dust from the grandfather clock, but you could tell he's like been white faced.
Yeah, and then Bob Hope makes some kind of crude remark like, "Oh, you know, you've turned white" or something like that.
Yeah, he makes a comment about him turning white.
Yeah, that, you know, Bob Hope has a couple. There's one earlier in the movie. He says something that's kind of racial, and you know, I was kind of taken back by it. You know what I mean? Because I wasn't expecting any of that in these movies. This movie that we were covering. And then it just got progressively worse. And then that right there took the cake for me. By then I was already out of the movie because we had just spent an hour with Bob Hope and we still hadn't seen anything, any special effects or anything till this point. And then he goes and does something like that. And it was just kind of ruined it for me, I guess.
It didn't really ruin it for me as much as, like you said, it was just a surprise.
Yeah.
I guess what overly surprising to me when it comes to that is how over the top Willie Best's character had to be.
Mm-hmm.
If you think of the classic, like the Step and Fetch It type comedies, any of those old exaggerated comedies with the blackface, with the big lips painted on, those kind of things, this is just a step, like half a step beyond that.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, it probably passed a lot more smoothly in 1940 than it does in 2025.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's definitely a big hurdle to get through on this one. But how does the movie end? I mean, because they see the ghost, but then there's like almost like a murder involved, and they're trying to kill him.
Okay, so you got to remember when Paula, what's her name in this movie?
Mary.
Yeah.
Carter.
So when Mary first comes into the mansion, she looks up and she sees, even Bob Hope and Willie, when they got there, they look up and they see this portrait, and they're like, "Hey, who's that look like? That looks like Mary." And it must be one of like her long lost relatives. And it looks just like her. She's in like a black dress with like a black head gown on, or a head veil and all that. And so they go off, they're trying to find the ghost while they're looking around. Well, when she gets in there, she looks up and she sees the picture and she's like staring at it. Well, the mummy, I call him the mummy, but the zombie sees her and he starts chasing her, and, you know, her robe gets caught on the banister and rips. And she runs up the stairs, and I think it's pretty funny when she's like, Larry, and Alex is like, "Hey, that sounds like Mary's voice." And Bob Hope's like, "Oh, that's just what they want you to think." But it's really her screaming. So they end up finding each other, and she's like, "Look, there's a ghost after me." Right? He's like, "Yeah, but who do they think you are?" And she's like, "I got an idea." And she goes and she puts on that black dress and the black headdress, and she looks just like that picture. And they end up going, so that basically subdues the zombie guy. They end up going into this room, and there's an organ. And Bob Hope had been in there before, and he's like, "Yeah, the organ don't work at all."
Yeah, it doesn't work.
Yeah, he's like, "It doesn't work." And so she sits down and she plays it, starts playing. He's like, "Well, it didn't work when I tried it." And you come to find out that they have written, there's notes like engraved into the wall, and she starts playing it, the notes, because she draws chalk across the ways, and it shows notes on the music paper.
Yeah, like the little birds on the wall represented like the notes on it.
Right. And so she plays those notes, and Bob Hope says, "Well, something's moving over here, do it again." And it's like part of the column archway is turning, and when it turns and she keeps playing it turns like halfway, excuse me, it opens up to a secret tunnel down to the basement. And so they're like, "Well, we got to go down here and find out." Well, they go down there, and it's like an old mine. Like, I don't know what they were mining for. Do you remember?
No, I sure don't, man. But yeah, there's like a secret passage that leads them to like a secret underground. Now, what that reminded me of was like the scene in Goonies where they have to play the organ,
Yep.
or let's say the Ghost in Mr. Chicken,
Yep.
where the organ opens up the secret passageway in the house kind of thing. So the whole, when you play the organ, it makes something move idea, that's been played so many times in movies. I wonder if this is like one of the very early versions of that.
Yep.
So I thought that was pretty cool.
So when they get down there, because they've left Alex up top, he says, "Hey, you need to stay up here and keep an eye out in case the ghost comes or whatever." He's like,
"Oh yeah,
okay.
yeah." In case the ghost comes back.
So Mary and Larry are down there, and somebody comes up behind them, and who is it?
It is the murderer.
Well, no. He's like, "Look out," because the door is opening behind them, and he shoots the guy behind them or whatever. Remember?
Oh, that's right. That was
Prada.
Yeah, that was Parada.
Well, one of them's Prada, I
Killers.
think, and the other one turns out to be that it is the guy that got murdered back at the beginning of the movie's twin brother. They look exactly alike.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's true.
And so he's got all three of them held up, and he's like, "Look, you're never going to get out of here. I'm going to kill you, and I'm going to take all this fortune or whatever was down there. I can't remember if it was diamonds or gold. I can't remember." And what happens, Bond? What happens? Who's the hero of the movie?
It's Alex.
Alex.
Alex is the hero.
What's he do?
Oh man, Alex. Let me get this straight. I think he didn't he like open the door.
He does. He hits a lever or something up the top, right?
It's like that's what I'm saying. He hits a lever and opens the door,
and it drops a trap door beneath the shooter.
There's like a trap door, and he's like, the bad guy falls through the trap. The basement floor like opens up, and he falls through.
And what does he say? He's like, "Did I hit the right button, boss?"
Yeah, he hits it. The bottom of the basement just falls through, and he falls through that hole.
Yeah,
they were already in the basement, so there's no
what?
telling where that hole went.
That's like a dungeon or something. What?
Yeah.
And then you see the end of the movie. You see Bob Hope and Larry and Mary on the back of a boat, and they start talking about something, and they kiss, and where they're going to be together or whatever, and the end.
He says something he says something in the way of, "Yeah, I think it'll make a great honeymoon."
Yeah.
Right. And she goes, "Honeymoon?"
So are you asking?
Right. And that's kind of how it closes out.
Yeah. So the ending was kind of, man, it almost felt rushed, I think.
Well, the last 20 minutes felt rushed.
Yeah.
They should have gotten to Cuba like 20, 30 minutes into the movie.
Right. And spent the last hour there.
Yeah. If they would have gotten to Cuba in the first 20, 30 minutes and spent an hour there, I think the title and the whole way the story moved would have been much better.
Yeah.
I was entertained for the first hour.
Right, but it wasn't what you thought it should be.
Yeah. The title didn't match the movie at all.
No.
They didn't break any ghost. There was one ghost, and really he spent most of his time with Alex. I do think Alex was probably the best character in the movie.
Absolutely.
He was great. Bob Hope's character is great too. I love his one-liners, but I think just Willie Best as Alex is just he was so entertaining, so much fun.
Right. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the trivia in this movie. There's not a lot, just a few things.
Yeah, sure.
But he does have that joke about Democrats being like zombies. It has been pointed to for years as evidence of Bob Hope's political affiliations. Most forget, though, that Bob Hope also made a joke about Republicans in The Cat and the Canary in 1939. In fact, Hope made jokes at the expense of both parties throughout his long career, during which he was on good terms with many presidents, Democratic and Republican. So they try to hold it against him, but he just, poked fun at everybody.
I love that idea, the fact that he made fun of both sides. He didn't know where he stood.
Right. So it was made twice. The Ghostbreaker was made twice as a silent movie in 1914, directed by Cecil B. DeMille. Bond, do you know what Cecil B. DeMille is famous for? What movies is he famous for?
He's famous for like the big productions. Like, didn't he do like Cleopatra and all those?
He did The Ten Commandments.
There you go.
He did Samson and Delilah. He did The King of Kings. He did The Greatest Show on Earth. He did Sunset Boulevard, and many more. That's just a few that I pulled up.
Yeah, I just remember him doing those big movies, the ones that were like 4 or 5 hour movies where they had an intermission in between.
Yeah.
They would have a musical intermission.
That orchestra music they would put like in Ben-Hur and stuff, fantastic.
Just amazing. Yeah.
But so one of them was in 1914, the other one was in 1922. But sadly, both versions of that are now considered lost unless they find it buried somewhere in one of the vaults or something.
Wow.
Yeah, it's sad.
That's amazing.
Let's see here.
You really don't think about that. You really don't think about movies being lost anymore.
No.
That there's movies that they make and they're like, nope, it's gone. You can't watch it again. It's there's no known copies.
Yep. The castle in the story is called Castillo Maldito. It means evil castle. The Cat and the Canary with Bob Hope and Paula Goddard had become such a big hit that Paramount began looking for another old dark house stage play that could be turned into a similar vehicle for the pair, which this film obviously took that, and it debuted in theaters less than 8 months later. So big turnaround. This film was such a big box office hit that for years after its release, other studios made similar movies in hopes of replicating its success. I wish we could find the numbers for that so we could actually verify that.
Exactly.
But among those copycat films was The Smiling Ghost, a Warner B movie that starred Alexis Smith and cast Willie Best in a role similar to the one he had in Ghostbreakers. So I'd kind of like to see that movie. There are 2 ambulance medics. The first with a mustache has a line or two. The second, barely seen, is Robert Ryan. You have to pause to see his face. I'm in that movie. It reminds me of Monsters, Inc. when Mike Jaworski or whatever gets the magazine and he's like I'm on the cover of the magazine. And like the barcode's over it or whatever. And he's like, his mom's calling him, Mom, I made the cover. This picture was one of the inspirations for who you going to call? Ghostbusters. That's right. 1984 per Dan Aykroyd in a November 2021 interview with the Huffington Post. So that's really crazy to me because
kind of a ghost movie and
with
a comedy.
no ghost in it. Yeah. Along with Abbott and Costello films, Hold That Ghost in 1941 and Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein and Bob Hope and Paulette Goddard's own The Cat and the Canary, it is cited as a prime example of the classic Hollywood horror comedy. Abbott and Costello did such a good job with those two. Larry refers to the old woman at the castle as Aunt Dinah. Dinah Anthony John, known as Aunt Dinah, was a Native American known for her longevity who reportedly lived to age 107. This is a joke about the women appearing to be exceptionally old. 107, man. During the lightning storm in New York City, and you heard it in the trailer at the beginning of this, Larry quips, Basil Rathbone must be throwing a party. The allusion is to Rathbone's wife, Ouida's reputation for hosting elaborate and expensive parties. So Mary asked Larry how he learned to dance so well, and he replies, I used to dance with Sally Rand. She was an American burlesque dancer famous for her ostrich feather fan dance and balloon bubble dance. So. Oh, man. The car Larry drives to the hotel is a 1940 Oldsmobile Series 60 convertible coupe. Only 1,347 were made. Original base price was only $996, which was about $21,750 in 2023 dollars. In excellent condition, an example of this vehicle could be worth about $40,000 as of 2023. So if you have one, you might have some money. This part of this movie was actually shot in Havana, Cuba, so I thought that was interesting too. They actually filmed on location. Paramount publicity materials contained in the production files at the Ampus Library note that the film introduced the Sonovox, a machine invented by Gilbert Wright that blended music and the sound of the human voice. The device was used for the disembodied voices in the film, so I think that's really, really cool. At about 37 minutes into the movie, Bob Hope says, does he appear nightly or just Sundays and holidays? In reference to learning that the ghost is named Don Santiago, who would most likely be Spanish and Catholic. It's apparent Paul Lucas is trying not to laugh in the movie. The Ghostbreaker opened on Broadway in New York City on March 3rd, 1913, and closed in May 1913 after 72 performances. The opening night included H.B. Warner, who also starred in the 1914 film adaptation of the play. So that's pretty cool. Let's see here. I guess Bob Hope and Goddard have been in 3 movies. This is the second one they were in. The other 2 are The Cat and the Canary and Nothing But the Truth. Nothing But the Truth. Screen Directors Playhouse broadcast a 30-minute radio adaptation of this movie on April 3rd, 1949, with Bob Hope reprising his role. This movie is mentioned in the 1945 Paramount movie Murder, He Says. Yeah, as you heard, Bob Hope appears as himself in the movie's trailers. I played that at the beginning, where he introduces the story and characters. Willie Best's infamously unfitting overboard comedy chops in the otherwise intense dramatic thriller High Sierra, which was Humphrey Bogart's first leading role, was because of the success of this movie the year before. So, wow. Pretty interesting. Over 700 of Paramount Productions filmed between 1929 to 1949 were sold to MCA Universal in 1958 for television distribution and have been owned and controlled by Universal ever since. It goes through and it lists all kinds of stuff what cities they played in and for how long and all that. So I'm not going to go through all that, but the $50,000 offer for the castle in 1940 is worth $1.148 million in 2025. Nice. All right, Bond.
It was nice.
You're gonna have to break this movie down for me and give me your rating and review.
No problem, man. All right, so the first thing is I love the classic trailer. They don't make trailers like this anymore. That was a thing back in like the 40s, and where they would have, especially for comedies, they would have a character from the movie come out as themselves and introduce the trailer, kind of like the way that Bob Hope did in this one. So it's a really original way to do a trailer back then, and we don't do trailers like that anymore. No. So I thought that was fun. This movie was funny. It had funny parts in it. Some of the one-liners. I think one of the things that, I don't know if it doesn't translate well over time for Bob Hope, was Bob Hope made a lot of period jokes. So his jokes were really important and funny at the time, but you had to know who he was talking about. So if he said, he's a regular Spiro Agnew, you had to know who that was. And if you don't, then it doesn't translate over the decades.
That's like Basil Rathbone he talked about.
Yeah, exactly. So unless you're a film buff or you know something about the time period of the 1940s, you don't know who Basil Rathbone is, right? So I think a lot of his comedy's lost in that way, where it's actually really funny stuff, but it's also very time oriented. Yeah, what they looked at as hilarious back then, we kind of look at as awkwardly racist now. And just the caricature of the African American figures and the black actors of the time, which we look back, now in 2025, we look at that as kind of sad that black actors were portrayed that way. That being said, Willie Best was hilarious. This movie was entertaining. It's really kind of difficult for me to rank it. I'm going to give it let's say a 5.5, right down the middle. It's not a bad movie, but it just doesn't translate well. It doesn't carry over. 85 years is a long time for a movie to be relevant. And I don't think this one is. I don't think the title matches the plot of the movie at all. They don't break any ghost. There's only one ghost in it. It takes 2/3 of the movie to get to anything resembling scary or even comedy scary. Because this is supposed to be like a horror comedy, but there's no horror in it for the first hour. So that was kind of hard for me. I'm going to give it a 5.5, Jimbo. My prop, I will take Mary Carter's luggage, the big trunk that she has.
The big trunk, huh?
The big trunk, so I can go on a nice big cruise to Cuba. What about you, man?
Yeah, it's, maybe there's a reason we've stayed away from Bob Hope movies on this podcast, right? It's so hard to rate something this old, that because you want to make sure it was a different time and a different era and a different rules applied back then. So you want to make sure you do it justice, or based a fair review of it. I guess I don't want to hold anything against it because of that, but obviously I don't agree with some of the stuff that happened in this movie. But it happened. That's why we're talking about it. Willie Best. I need to see more of his acting, because if it's anything like he did in this movie, I hope that he got to drop the trope of the manservant, and I hope he had a illustrious career where he actually got to become a famous actor on his own right and not just a sidekick comedian and the butt of jokes. Bob Hope, he's a legend. I was never a really big fan of him, even his movies. Sometimes his comedy, even as a kid when I was watching it, it just didn't hit me right. I don't know. But I remember watching a lot of that stuff, especially as he did a lot for the troops. The acting was good in this. It held your attention. I just wish, even if they didn't, if Bob Hope and Paula Goddard and Willie didn't get to the island, I wish they would have shown some of the story over what's happening on the island, like people running away from the island scared because of the ghost walked across the room or something, or anything like that. Special effects, the ghosts were great for the time. Lightning, not so much. It was kind of weird. But you know, I think Bob Hope and Paula Goddard had nice chemistry. Obviously they did 3 movies together. Hands down, Willie Best is the best thing out of this movie, but I'm right there with you. I think it's a 5. I don't know if I'll ever watch this movie again.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah. I guess it's okay for a one-of watch, but is it one of my favorite movies? No. Bond, did it win any awards?
I didn't see it win any awards. It had award-winning actors in it.
Right.
But the movie itself did not get any accolades. The reception of it was pretty good, but I don't see anything on here that says that, it walked away with any awards or anything.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'd probably give it a 5. If you're a fan of horror comedy, obviously give it a shout out or a watch. Abbott and Costello. It's kind of got some of that vibe to it, but there's just not enough of it. The comedy and the story up to the part of where they get to the island, about the whole thing to get to the island, it just takes too long to get there. And without any, and then it ends so quickly that like the climax of the movie is there and gone in like 8 minutes. And you're like, I didn't have time to process who these people were. He's like, aha, I'm his twin brother. And, I was really confused about the one guy that was, the guy that had been warning her. Why is he there? How did he get there if there were no boats that were going to be coming out that way?
Yeah, Jeff Montgomery, his character was just everywhere.
Yeah.
He was just everywhere.
Because I don't think he was supposed to be on the boat that she was on when he came to her room, remember? I don't think she's like, what are you doing here? He's like, well, I thought I'd come with you. And I was like, oh, okay. So I guess that's where we're going with this. And then he shows up, but he specifically says, hey, nobody will drive you out there in the middle of the night because everybody's afraid to go. So how did he get out there? I don't know.
Why do you have to make this movie in Cuba at all? Why couldn't she just inherit an estate or a castle or something in New Orleans?
There or even in England?
Yeah, or in England. Why do you have to go overseas? Just, up north in Connecticut and just have him go with her to a haunted house up there.
Right.
It does the placement of it, other than the voodoo aspect of it. There's no really importance of it being.
But that could have worked in New Orleans too.
Exactly. I don't see the purpose of this exotic locale.
And it was a black and white movie. So they probably got away with some of that special effects stuff by doing black and white too. Would you like to see this movie in color?
I think I'd like to see this movie done again in 2025.
And who would you place in there?
I would have maybe like a Jason Biggs from American Pie in Bob Hope's character. So if you have him, you can have, he doesn't have to have a manservant, but he can have a best friend. And they help, they always hang out together.
Jonah Hill.
Yeah, and then exactly, and then so they hang out together. They find a their cousin, a girl they know from college, inherits this house, and it's pretty much just the basic skeleton of the same plot line, but just make it more modern today. I think it would really work.
I think even you could put Keenan Thompson in there. I think he'd be pretty funny if he played the Willie Best character. But yeah, just a 5. So, but wait, next week, the next episode, we are taking a hard right turn, and we are going all the way out. I believe it was in 1999.
Oh, you're talking about our 2001
2001, yes. Evolution.
Exactly. Evolution 2001, starring David Duchovny.
Yep. And Julianne, what's her name?
Julianne Moore,
Yeah.
Orlando Jones, Sean William Scott.
Dan Aykroyd.
That's our next movie. Our next movie is Evolution 2001.
Right. So if you want to follow us, we are the Tragedy of Cinema podcast. If you like this movie or if you've watched this movie and you have a difference of opinions, please email us at thetragedyofcinema@gmail.com. Let us know what you think. But with this said, I think this episode's coming to a close, and that's a wrap.
And cut.
The tragedy of cinema, where memories shimmer. Join us as we toast to the tales we love the most. The tragedy of cinema, where memories shimmer. Join us as we toast to the tales we love the most. Those we love the most. The tragedy of cinema, when memories shimmer. Join us as we toast to the tales we love the most. To the tales we love the most. The tragedy of cinema, when memories shimmer. Join us as we toast to the tales we love the most. To the tales we love the most. To the tales we love the most.
Thanks for listening. This has been a J&J production.